listening to The Cell on WGRN 94.1, brought to you by the Faith Thomas Foundation. Hi, I want to welcome our listeners for tuning back in to The Cell on WGRN 94.1. And I'm really excited that we happen to have as our guest today Franklin County Children's Services. I mean, because there's a lot of young kids out there with a lot of issues, along with their parents, and Franklin County Children's Services is here to provide some resource information for us, and they really do have a lot of information to share. But before we get started, I need to say hello to my producer, Ernie Kelly.
Hello ladies.
Hello. Hey. And I'm actually the sole host today. I don't have a co-host, so I hope you guys don't get tired of listening to me talk. But I think I got some pretty good questions. But maybe the two young ladies that I have here with me today will keep me busy, so I won't be asking too many questions. But anyhow, I happen to have with me from Franklin County Children's Services, Valancia Turner. Hello.
Hello.
And then I happen to have Miss Deborah Armstrong. How you doing, young lady?
I'm doing really good, thank you.
Great. So what I would like for you to is to tell me a little bit about yourself, first of all. And I really do kind of want to know how and why you chose to get involved in this field.
Well, this is Valancia going. I am the Community Outreach Liaison for Franklin County Children's Services. And what that entails is our division is responsible for getting the education out there about some of the other services that Children's Services has. And one of the reasons why I really got involved with Children's Services, one, I have a heart for children, and I actually volunteered with Franklin County Children's Services and fell in love with the mission and fell in love with the organization.
So when you say that you volunteered, what areas did you volunteer in before you got really involved in it?
I was actually on the Citizens Advisory Council, which is a volunteer of citizens, community citizens that come and kind of help Children's Services with their mission and support them and the things that they're doing in the community.
Okay. And what about you, Miss Deborah?
I'm Deborah Armstrong, and I'm Communications Director for Franklin County Children's Services. I've been with the agency 35 years.
Wow.
And I started out with the agency as a foster care recruiter, recruiting foster homes for children. And then after that, I moved to adoption recruiter. And for 10 years, I did a program called One Church, One Child, where I work with the faith community to try to encourage families to come forward and to adopt or become foster parents for our children. And then moved to community outreach, and then eventually became the communications director. And that includes our community outreach division and also all of our volunteer and mentoring programs.
That's pretty good. I have a special place in my heart because I actually did volunteer in my younger day as a mentor with young girls. Okay. And then when my children start to get older, I actually then switched the age groups so that my kids could then also become mentors and learn. Just not me being a mentor, but them being a mentor. The last one was my daughter, who was Faith, and she passed, but she got to get a little taste of it. And I've been, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I want to get back involved in it, as far as the mentoring portion of it, so.
Well, just let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
We have a wonderful mentoring program. One is our Malika program, which is an Afrocentric program where we match African-American women in the community with African-American girls under our agency's care.
Okay, well, the Lord's dealing with me on that.
Okay.
It's like it keeps popping up, and I'm like, okay, do I have time?
Always time, always time.
Yeah.
Another thing, when you're talking about the Malika program, something you could consider the volunteers if you're not really ready to get totally involved. We do a program around Holiday Wish with our Black Girl Magic, which is actually getting culturally specific items for our girls that are of color in the agency. So that's something that you can volunteer and host a toy drive and get those items for our girls, and they're very appreciative of the things that they get.
She over here putting all this positive energy and stuff off of me. It's like, that is just pulling at me. I'm going to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to give you a call, and so that I could try to find out what I need to do to get involved in that. So listeners, I hope that you heard that, the Malika program, and she needs volunteers. So where can they contact in order to volunteer at?
They can contact our agency at 275-2590 or just our general number at 614-275-2523. And if you call that number, you'll get information about any of our programs.
And that's just one program. I mean, I think I saw 20 or 30 programs that you guys have. I went looking through their website, and it's like, Lord have mercy, they are addressing every issue that there is to address. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, we want, one of the things that we talk about a lot at Franklin County Children's Services that, we're mandated to protect our community's children, but we can't do that work alone. We need individuals, caring couples, and people from the community to help keep children safe and to provide for their well-being. Children's Services is an organization, it's an institution. And so we rely on people to make sure that children are safe.
You're talking about children are safe, and with school starting, I mean, what are some of the things that parents can do to ensure that their kids are being safe? I mean, because kids nowadays, this is the millennium, and it's nothing like when we were growing up. It's a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, there are a lot of things. One of the things that we do, we have posted on our website, and we have information available in the community. We have various parenting tips. They range from tips about how to stop bullying, to how to be street smart, to parenting teens, to all kinds of things. For example, with our bullying, there's something that adults can do. If they see a child being bullied, they can stop it on the spot, intervene immediately, make sure everyone is safe, stay calm, separate the children involved by asking what happened, be respectful, get police or medical attention if that's needed, and support the children involved. And what the children can do is, first of all, treat everyone with respect, calmly tell the bully to stop, stay near adults and other kids, talk to an adult you trust, and stand up for others. And teens, you have a little bit more responsibility in that as well. Get familiar with what bullying is and is not. Learn about cyberbullying, which is certainly prevalent today.
Yeah.
And speak up. Join an anti-bullying campaign at your school or in your community.
Then suicide rates have gone up so high with kids in regards to bullying, and even with the cyberbullying. For that matter, you get adults nowadays who are actually out there jumping in on the fights, or encouraging their kids to fight. I mean, how do you tell kids to handle that when the adults are involved in it?
Well, hopefully they can pull in some other adults who can be more responsible, because you are the adult, you're supposed to be the role model for the children, and so you need to pull in another trusted adult, whether that be a teacher or a coach, another parent, someone else. So just call on another trusted adult to intervene in those kinds of situations.
And what about how would you handle the cyberbullying?
That's a little bit more more difficult, but some of the things parents really have to be aware of the sites that their children are on and who they're contacting. But one of the things that we're going to talk about with cyberbullying for the child is don't retaliate. If you keep feeding into it, it's going to just escalate. So just don't retaliate. If someone is bullying you and saying things about you that are untrue or that are negative, do not retaliate, because that just keeps it going and feeds into the fire. Another thing, make sure that you tell a parent or trusted adult what's going on. Make sure they're involved so that they can de-escalate the cyberbullying that's going on. And another thing is they said you report it to the website administrator, making sure you're reporting things that are going on, because they have more technology where they can dig a little deeper and find out where that's coming from, so we can actually prevent it. So those are some of the few things that the child can do when trying to de-escalate cyberbullying.
That's so hard for kids to do nowadays, is what you say, not retaliate. It's almost like they feel that they have to say something, because if they don't say something, then other kids might think that they're wimping out or punking out, or some sense of that manner that makes them feel that pressure, peer pressure, that they have to say something.
I say a quote with Michelle Obama: "When they go low, you go high."
Hey,
so that's what I think you have to do. As a child, you can't kind of go stoop to their level. Take the high road, because it's only going to make things worse if you just continue, like I say, fueling the fire.
Yeah. I remember I saw a movie on Lifetime where the actual mother was the one who was sending the messages to the young girl off of her daughter's computer, where the young girl eventually ended up committing suicide. I mean, and that was cyberbullying. And I hope that there are laws in place that can, that do deal with that. I'm sure that there are. So you'll probably have to contact, your prosecuting attorney's office or an attorney to find out whether or not if there's laws in place to deal with cyberbullying. That's some very serious stuff, very serious. What are some of the other things that you guys do?
Well, we also have, in addition to parenting tips, we have a lot of programs in the community where we ask people to come forward and help. One is our foster care recruitment program. With all of the issues, particularly now in our community with the opiate epidemic, it's increasing the number of children coming into our agency's care, particularly our young children under the age of 5. We're seeing an increase in those numbers. And we need families for those children. We need temporary foster families to come forward and provide a loving home and care for the children while we work with the family and hopefully reunify them with their parents, and if not, connect them with another relative, a kinship home, so that child can have a safe, stable environment.
Does your agency actually decides whether or not if the kid is going to be removed from the home? Do you go out and do investigations? Do you go out, do you guys determine that, or does another agency determine
Well,
it?
actually, Franklin County Children's Services is the agency mandated by law to do investigations, but we don't have the authority to remove a child from the home. The only way a child can be removed from the home is through a court order, so a judge has to make that decision, or law enforcement. A police officer can remove a child from the home. But we don't have, a lot of people say, Children's Services, you have all authority. You can come remove the children from the home. Mm-hmm. We don't have that authority. It has to come through the court.
So that's a misconception.
Or come through law enforcement. And then once the child is removed from the home, then we do the investigation.
So does the investigation start with you guys, or does the investigation, like if I felt that a child was being abused, and then I contact Franklin County Children's Services, what are the steps that you guys would do?
That starts the process.
Okay.
When you make that call, we have a 24-hour hotline and it's 614-229-7000. Mm-hmm. If you suspect any kind of abuse of a child, you can call that number. We have screeners who will, take that information and determine whether or not that call rises to the level of an investigation. Every call may not rise to the level of an investigation, but if indeed we do screen it in for an investigation, we send a social worker out to determine exactly what steps need to be taken. But first of all, our main thing is to ensure the safety of that child.
Yeah. Okay. I got plenty of more questions to ask, and it's really a very sensitive area when you really kind of think about it. But I need to take an identification break here, and this is WGRN 94.1. You're listening to The Cell. I just want to remind everybody that Monday, August 27th, is the last day for you to purchase your tickets for the Faith Thomas Foundation 5th Annual Red Diamond Gala. Our topic this year is cure or no cure. So it's the question of, is there a universal cure for sickle cell? Yes or no? So we're going to answer that question there. In addition to that, we have a reception, we're going to have dinner, we have our program, and then at about 9:30, I do believe what they call drop, what do you call it? Drop the mic, psh, DJ, drop it like it's hot, so that way, for me personally, it's the way to celebrate the end of my year, sort of. I might have only maybe 2 or 3 more programs, throughout this year, because it always starts up the next following year. So it's just like shedding and saying, hey, I did it, So also, too, with that the Red Diamond Gala it's a fundraiser, and it sponsors OSU Medical and Nationwide Children's Hospital sickle cell programs. So they will be there in full force, and we hope that you can make it out there. If you would like to purchase tickets, you can log on to www.faiththomasfoundation.org, or you can log on to our webpage and also purchase your ticket there. Or if you have any questions, feel free to call me at 614-746-5367. And if you don't get me, leave me a message. So we're here with Franklin County Children's Services, and we're going to get back into some of the things that they do to help kids. I'm learning a lot, from just listening to them, because I actually thought that Franklin County Children's Services was the one who initiated that, went inside, did the investigation, and then said, remove them. I did not realize that there were some other components that play into this, so that was interesting to me right there.
Yeah. We actually receive over 30,000 calls of abuse each year.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not us going into the homes. It's the public. It's teachers. It's
Yes.
That are giving us calling that line, that 614-229-7000, and reporting abuse. Like you said, it's our job to make sure that the child is safe, and going in and determining whether that child needs to be removed, or giving that advice, seeing what's going on in the home. So we're not removing the child. So that's from a higher source, from the court system. But we're just kind of being the middleman, going in and kind of accessing the situation, the environment, and seeing if it is a safe environment for our children.
So if you don't have a place to take the kids, as what you said, fostering.
Yes.
Isn't there another one, emergency something or another?
Yeah, there's different resources, but first of all, our first goal is to try to stabilize that child within the family. Mm-hmm. So we try to provide as many resources to those parents as we can to safely maintain the child in the home. And if the child cannot be maintained in the home, then the next step, by law, we're required to look at the least restrictive placement, and that's another family member, whether it's grandmother, aunt, uncle, older sibling. And so we look to the relatives, or a kin caregiver, which may not be a blood relative. It may be someone else who has a relationship with the child. That may be a teacher, or maybe a coach, or a neighbor, or someone else who has that relationship. And then if those resources aren't available, that's when we look to temporary foster parents who are licensed by the state to provide care on a temporary basis for children. And then in situations where a child cannot go into a foster home, we have what we call residential settings, and those are for children who may have some other issues, or have experienced more trauma, or who may need a little bit more care. So they may go into a residential. But our first priority is to make sure that child has some kind of family setting.
I like how you guys keep going back to ensuring that the child is safe, ensuring that the child is stable. Yeah. But I do want to ask you a question. You said that there were several things that you try to do first before you, such as stabilizing. What are some of the programs or some of the things that you might work with within the family to help them to, I guess you can say, maybe get it together, or in order to keep the child in that home? What are some of those programs?
Well, we contract with over 100 provider agencies in the community, and that may be anywhere from arranging counseling for the family, some kind of caregiving that the child may need. It may be parenting classes. It may even mean, in some situations, having a safety plan where we have someone else who's going into the home. Maybe grandma is checking in every day on the children to make sure everything is okay. So there are a variety of resources that we try to link the family to in the community, and that varies from one extreme to the other. And then sometimes a family may just need help with what we call families in need of services. They may need to get linked with somewhere to get some food, or maybe the proper health care, mental health care for the children or for the parents. And families where the parents may be have issues with drugs or addiction, alcohol or drug addiction, we try to get those families linked to services in those areas. And so it's from one extreme to the other where we see families who need help. And, sometimes parents, a lot of the families that we work with, with us, if something happens to us, we have other family members, or we know someone else who can kind of help us out with the children when we're having problems. A lot of the families that we work with are isolated. They really don't have anybody else they can turn to. And so they end up in this spiral of just not getting any help. And the community needs to step in and respond if we can.
So is that how you go about for your volunteers and stuff again?
for volunteers.
I mean, to help out with the families and stuff.
Absolutely. I kind of call it we have like the 4 P's. I say it's the prevention, protection, placement, and permanency. But we try to focus on those first P's, the prevention and the protection of the children. So those are things that we do. We go out in the community, like our Fam Jam event.
Yeah.
We provide a lot of community resources for our families, so we can do some preventative methods out in the community. And like you said, the protection, making sure that we use some of those 100 resources that we have in organizations to help our families get the things that they need.
Right.
Everyone's struggling, and they may just need just a little help. So last year we focused a lot on things that you can do to help, like an overwhelmed parent, like babysitting and holding a crying baby, little things like that. People just need to know that the community cares, and there's just a little bit of assistance from the community or from the public, and those go a long way. They just don't realize how far they go in the preventative method.
So you do a lot of outreach, because that's how I met you. Valencia, I met her at an Faith Ministries church, and we talked there, and just really kind of strange how relationships go when you start to meet people out within the community, out doing outreach. And what are some of the other outreach programs that you guys do in order to reach the communities out there? I know Fam Jam was one of them. That was a big one.
We do our prevention breakfast, which is just it's a way that we can tell, like, our community leaders kind of what we're doing with children's services, so people don't think we just take kids. We have wonderful caseworkers who are passionate and who love children and really love the job that they're doing. We also do like a safe sleep campaign, which we're teaching young mothers how to safely, put their kids in cribs. We do a safe havens program, which we're telling where you can take your child to be safe with some of the safe havens that are throughout Columbus.
Yeah.
We just do a variety of outreach, kind of educating, the Columbus public about some of the things that, Franklin County does, or just some of the items that are going on in the community and educating the community. We did a community forum in April talking about the opiate crisis.
Oh, wow.
And it's just amazing how people were so receptive as to, they don't realize how that affects us with child welfare. There was families, when they are going through their drug addiction, we actually, we have to have those kids. Those kids are, had a loss for some parents, so we have to find placement for those children. And it's just amazing how people didn't realize the connection between child welfare and the opiate crisis.
Yeah, that right there is a serious one. That right there is a real serious one. What do you do if a kid happens to come in that, because of the parents, the whole family, even the kids, what if they are on,
Well, we evaluate the entire family situation, so it depends on what the call is about, what situation the child is in. There are just as many resources that we can link a child to get the care and the help that they need. So we link them to those resources and try to make sure that they're safe and that they're dealing with
because that's
that
a
issue.
mental thing. That's an impact. That's impact. Yeah. So let's just say that the parents do get to get their kids back eventually. Is there some type of, I guess I want to say, where you would send for the child for them to go to seek some type of help to deal with that, to understand what their parents
services
did?
And things like that. There are those resources available in the community too, because a lot of times the children will need counseling, whether it's group counseling or individual counseling. So we make sure that the family has those resources and connections. Even once children's services is removed from that family situation, our workers always leave them with those resources that they can follow up with and call when they need some help.
Yeah. I'm just totally, like I said, I'm learning a lot, and y'all pulling at my heartstrings. And I know that I'm pretty sure that there's some young girl out there that, needs me, or that I can share something, with them. I think I'm ready, it's like I said, I've been kind of being nudged, Here, I think it's about the past last year or two, probably when I met Valencia.
She's good at encouraging people to say, come on and help the children.
So it's probably with her, And with that being said, I'm going to look at, definitely volunteering for the one program. What is it again?
The Malika program,
the
Black Girl Magic.
Do they have one for men? I mean, the young boys?
They do. It's called the Simba program.
Okay.
So we have a mentoring program for our African-American young women and our African-American men. We also have a college-bound volunteer program.
Wow.
So, our kids are bright. They're smart. They go to college. Despite what the public may think, they go to college, they go to school. They're encouraging, and they need that encouragement.
They're not problem children. What most people think when
yeah,
they go
most
to
people think these kids
that
are just
stigma.
all problem. They have that stigma.
Yeah.
Like I say, our kids are bright and they're smart, and they want to have a bright future. And
They just
we want to
need
make
some
sure
help.
they do have a bright future.
Yeah, and tell people they're our community's children. They're the children who go to our churches. They go to our community centers. They're our neighbors. So their community's children. Is not that child over there, but it's a family who's having some struggles, who's having some problems, and the child happens to come into the care of Children's Services because of those issues to hopefully be able to go back home one day soon.
Okay, so now I asked you guys earlier because I said I know we wasn't going to get through everything that I wanted to get through because you do have a program that I want to talk about, and it's called Choose Your
Partner Carefully.
Choose Your Partner Carefully, and that gets into the sickle cell aspect of things. So, and there's a couple of other programs that you have that also caught my eye that I kind of would like for you guys to kind of cover. So, would you guys be willing to come back in the future for a part 2?
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Just call us.
Great.
We'll come.
So, is there anything that you would like to say, Valencia, before we close out?
Just that, Franklin County Children's Services does a lot for, the children. Like I say, these are our children in the community and our community's children. And in order to stop abuse and prevent it, we need the entire community to help us on this journey. Mm-hmm. So I'm always open to going out and speaking and talking about children's services to different organizations and community organizations, talking about, the mission of children's services.
So our listeners can reach you at
614-275-2520.
And Miss Deborah, what about you?
I would just say ditto to everything that Valencia has said. We're available to come to your church, to your sorority, fraternity, any organizations that you're affiliated with in the community. If they want to learn more about how they can help children, just give us a call. We'll be able to come. We can get literature out to you. So we just want people to understand, that it takes everyone. We talk about protecting children by strengthening families. Mm-hmm. It takes us all to do that work.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone, and thank you, Ernie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, I hope to listen to you next Wednesday. Felice, peace out. Well, that's the end of today's show. I want to thank you for listening to The Cell on WGRN 94.1. You can find us on Facebook or at faiththomasfoundation.org for more information on our upcoming events. Join us every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. here on WGRN.